The tortures, the killings, where is the bottom of the hell already? Let's talk about that with someone who's seen that. We are honored to have the guest Natalia Okhotnikova, human rights advisor at ZMINA. Natalia, hello.
Hello, studio.
My first question, do we know how many Ukrainians were abducted by the occupiers at temporarily occupied territories, and how many of them managed actually then to return home?
Thank you for your question, because to be honest, it's one of the most important questions because we do care about all our citizens who became stuck in occupied territory. Right. And for the moment, our Human Rights Center, ZMINA, we are trying to document all possible cases of those who both be abducted. For example, it's civilian activists, it's volunteers, it's teachers, representative of local communities. So those people who are real representatives, who are core of settlements. And unfortunately, since the start of full-scale invasion, Russians and their proxies from so-called DPR and LPR, they started to abduct them, to transfer them to temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine, and then further to the territory of Russia, to prevent all possible, let's say, support of Ukraine by demonstration, by peaceful meetings. And this is one, let's say, fault of these violations. And another one is, this is, as you said, it's forcible deportation of groups of people, both adults and children, to the temporarily occupied territory, but mostly to territory of Russia, and in some cases through Belarus. So, but regarding numbers, there is no general understanding of full amount of these victims, because some of them or their relatives, they're still in occupied territory and they are afraid to report on human rights violations, but we are afraid that it could be hundreds or even thousands of people.
Natalia, you are doing a great job and investing a tremendous amount of time and effort into this. Can you please explain me one thing? I've heard of cases of repeated abductions. What is this? Why occupiers do that after all? Would let people go and then they continue to monitor them and then detain them and abduct them again? What for? Is this somehow, I don't know, a way to break a person psychologically or what?
It's a question of systematic approach of occupiers, because their main goal, as since 2014, when they hide upon their proxies from Donetsk and Luhansk region, and now especially when they decided not to hide and start to attack openly and not to hide that they're representatives of Russian authorities. They are against any Ukrainian, let's say, approach, any Ukrainian feeling in temporary occupied territories. And as I said before, so they started from local representatives of communities. They could be formal or informal. So they start to abduct, to keep in detention, illegal detention, of course, people. Right. They start to transfer them, to break these links between community and its leader. They're trying to, suppress resistance of Ukrainians, and this is one of reasons why Russians could commit several abductions regarding one person, because unfortunately, especially depending on situation with the deliberation, the occupation of some territories, because even after some time if a person was abducted, and after some time he or she was released, but the person couldn't cross the line and he or she stuck on occupied territory, and he or she need to go to so-called police department and report about his whereabout. And sometimes, unfortunately, we have such cases. For example, there's cases from Berdyansk, a temporary occupied city in Zaporizhia region, that one young man was abducted. He was kept for 1 month. He was beaten. He transferred this information to his family, who is in free territory of Ukraine. And unfortunately, after some time, he was abducted again, and now he's transferred to Russian territory, and he charged with so-called terrorism against occupational authorities, and he will become before trial in Rostov-on-Don in Russia. And this is not, it's typical, unfortunately, this typical situation for temporary occupied territory, how they do with our people, how they try to punish them for suppression, for being Ukrainian still.
Yeah, this is exactly what they do, trying to punish people for being Ukrainians. Well, my next question was actually if you can give us some example of any specific cases. What you just did. You just told me that story of that man who was abducted again and detained again, and would have to face the unjust trial. But what do those who manage to escape Russian captivity say? Are they ready to share their stories even?
It depends. It depends on many reasons. For the first time, when they released, of course, they have a meeting with national law enforcement bodies, so they share information with police, with security service of Ukraine, with other bodies. They share everything they saw, because our civilians, they do understand that information that they provide, they're crucial for other families, because another thing that Russians are doing, they hide any kind of information from families. So this is a part of their, let's say, policy to hide not only people, but even information about them. So families are struggling every day because they have no information whether their beloved one alive or dead, whether he or she has been tortured for some time, whether he or she is charged with some crime, or maybe against him or her there is no any legal points that raised by Russians. So after they return, and after they find, let's say, moral strength to share, of course they share, and we are very grateful for them. They share information, and they're trying to remember a lot of details, and they are trying to remember even some personal information. So they remember telephone numbers of families from their inmates and from cells. And they are trying to pass this message from captivity to families, for example, that a person is still alive, where he or she is, and what needs does the person has. So it's crucial to have this information for them, and they're trying to do best, for remembering a lot of information and to share it with Ukrainian both authorities and civil organizations.
I can only imagine, or rather said, I cannot imagine how hard it is. But when you are about to communicate with these people that are at some point of time ready to share their stories, who have survived abduction, in any special way you have to talk to them. You have to treat them probably in a special way. Please educate us. What do you do?
You need to understand that it's not the case only, because we are lawyers or documenters. We need to, to put this mask to ourselves firstly, to not to fall into this empathy. It's not easy, to be honest. I'm unfortunately myself and my colleagues, we violate this rule sometimes because it's not easy, not to be empathic to a person who
Right.
had such a very
Horrific.
bad experience. But of course, you need to remember about all events that this person gone through. So we have special questionnaires. We ask people from time to time, even during one conversation, whether it's fine to proceed or the person need to have a break.
Right.
Especially it concerns cases on torture, ill treatment, sexualized violence, and all kind of this, because we don't need to touch persons bad experience and re-traumatize person again. So you need to always to remember that information is important. To
Yes, of
obtain
course.
information is crucial, but the most important thing is to keep person's mind in normal, let's say, state. If we see that we couldn't manage for the moment and a person needs psychological support, so we refer a person to professionals, to psychologists, to provide him or her free aid. And only after this and only after permission of psychologist that the person could share his or her experience, we could return to collection of evidence.
I wonder how important is it to record all the cases and details of abduction? The reason that I ask, Natalia, is because I have been recently asked, is it even realistic to bring the perpetrators to justice? So why to keep this information?
The point is that every single war would stop only when everybody returned to their home, whether alive or dead, whether they return in person or it will be any kind of information, whether remnants, for example. So it's our moral obligation to collect all possible information that we could collect and document it properly and submit it to all possible international bodies for keeping them track of crimes that commit Russian authorities, army, their proxy, they're all people who support their part, because we are very realistic on this point. So maybe we will not collect everything, but we need to put this goal as much as we possible, just to know and to be sure that all information is put in place and documented properly. Because, for example, I've been in the strategic litigation and collecting this information since 2014. And unfortunately, some people who I've questioned in 2014 and 2015, for example, after their return from captivity, or they shared information about other human rights violation, unfortunately, some of them are not alive today. Nobody knows what will be in 10 years, in 5 years. So we need to collect and prepare it in very high level for those courts or tribunals or other bodies who will take care of these cases maybe in 5 or 10 years, because we see...
You're absolutely right. We all need that. We need everyone to return from the war, whether alive, hopefully, or as a memory. Thank you so very much, and hope to have you back soon with us.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Have a good day.
Have a good day. Goodbye.